Jason Fitz, Caroline Fenton from Yahoo Sports, hanging out with Kirk Herbstreit. You watch him all the time on game day. You see him across ESPN. Joining us, Peter's here too. Yeah. Although he's too cool to hang out, which I don't blame you. You're joining us on behalf of Spruce, pet-friendly, weed deadly. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's talk some college football.
Yeah.
Okay. What did Indiana winning a national championship say to you about where college football is today?
Well, first let's evaluate what Indiana had. It wasn't just paying people. It was finding the right guys that fit what Curt Cignetti was looking for. Everybody fit like a puzzle. A lot of JMU guys, Kent State, Texas State. I mean, these were not five-star, we got to have this guy kind of guys. No, don't get me wrong, they developed into five-star players. But I think if there's anything to take away from an Indiana championship, it was they had a team of players that, this sounds crazy, love football, meaning they love practice. They love the process. They didn't care who got the attention. It was a team. So as we move forward to 26 and beyond, it's not about, well, Oregon has this much money with Phil Knight and Ohio State has this much. Yeah, that's important. But we just saw a team win it all that didn't spend the most money but had the best culture. And that is very challenging in this NIL portal era because these players are being rewarded and being reminded of their individual brand. But to be a great football team, you need to put that to the side and play as a team. And if you got all the credit for this win, I need to be like, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm happy for you. This is great. We won the game. Not deep down, we won, but she got all the attention. I didn't help my brand. And there are guys that think that way. And so that's what I took away from this. Curt Cignetti's a great coach. The team was so efficient and clean, but they loved each other and they were unselfish. And so that, to me, if you're going to look at them as a model, that's the model that they created.
I'm glad that you bring that up because I feel like people point to Indiana and say a sign of the times. But to your point, yes, they brought in transfer portal players, but Fernando Mendoza from Cal, D'Angelo Pons from JMU. It wasn't the big-time Power 4 programs. It wasn't the $50 million roster that we've seen at Texas Tech, and Ohio State. So understanding that it wasn't the typical formula that you see built in college football is what Curt Cignetti did at Indiana replicable elsewhere?
It just depends on the leadership. And I also think, can Curt Cignetti, it's one thing to get there, can he maintain it now that he's probably in different family rooms than he was when he took the job and he's like, we don't have a roster, I'm going to bring some JMU guys. Now he's getting into a five-stars family room. Can he keep that togetherness, that because that's going to be a challenge. I remember when Frank Beamer started to get Virginia Tech going and he got Michael Vick. And Michael Vick was a great player, but all of a sudden he started to get other individual players that were superstar, five-star players that were great players. It raised their game as far as playmaking ability, but it really hurt the blue-collar, lunch pail attitude that Virginia Tech won on. So that's going to be a challenge for me for Indiana. They got there, it's great, but can Curt Cignetti keep that kind of chip on their shoulder that they had after so many pats on the back and winning ultimately the ring? I'm excited to see if that can be done by Indiana. And then I think if there's one team that I would say, can it be replicated? I mean, Vandy is there. It's not just about Diego Pavia. It's about Clark Lee, the coach. And the other one is Stanford. Stanford is a team with – there's a reason Andrew Luck went back to Stanford, not to just help Old State U. He went back there because he knows the president, the AD, and he all line on what it takes. So Stanford could be a team that in a year or two could be coming on too.
We all cover college football because we love college football. And what I hear so often is college football is broken. This is not sustainable. That's what we keep talking about. But I also see record TV numbers. Game Day this year had an incredible ratings number. When you talk about the record-breaking interest in a non-traditional college football championship game, how can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
Well, I think two things could be true, right? I mean, I think it's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. Too much has happened at once, and nobody's being the adult in the room and trying to make tough decisions. We have very fragmented leadership. You know, we've got Greg Sankey who's worried about just the SEC, and he's a powerful man that's worried about his constituents. Tony Petitti's worried about the Big Ten. He's not worried about Starkville. He's worried about Champaign, Illinois. And we don't have one voice and one vision for the sport. So it's hard to get anything done when we have all these different agendas. Imagine if the NFL had Roger Goodell was a commissioner of the NFC South and someone else is a commissioner of the AFC North, and you had like 8 different commissioners. They'd get nowhere, and that's what we have in college athletics. So, yeah, ratings are great. Those uniforms still get everybody excited. Student body's there. Marching band is there. It's just unique, and these stadiums come alive on Saturdays. But we've got to figure out a way. Players are going to get paid, but it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university. That's not good or healthy.
Let's stick with the idea of a commissioner. I will appoint you college football commissioner because you don't have enough jobs. You're not busy enough already as is. You just got the job. What is your first point of action as new commissioner of college football?
Create a CBA with the players, whether it's a players' union or a new governing body for the Power Four. Mm-hmm. We create a new world for them. They break away from the NCAA, create a one voice, one commissioner. And then you, like the NFL, you get with the players, and whether it's unionized, somebody represents the players, and then you come together on here's what we're going to agree on portal, here's what we're going to agree with on NIL, rev share, whatever the big items are, and then you hire a big time, whether it's former FBI or whoever's going to enforce it, and you have real rules, and we agree on the rules, and there's guardrails, and then we're going to follow those, and when you break them, boom, you get busted, and it's a big punishment. That's the only way out of this. If they don't get a CBA, I don't know how, because the fear of dealing with litigation and being sued, everybody goes like this. So the players, and most especially their agents, they hold all the cards. The players, when I played, we had no cards. We just showed up. It's like being in the Marines. Now they have all the cards. Players, that's not healthy. You imagine, I equate it to like, let's say you guys are 14 years old and you're at home. You're like, Mom, Dad, I'm taking the keys. I'm going for a ride. Pick up some friends. You're 14. Imagine the parents going, you can't do that. And then the kid in his own house turns to his agent and says, they said I can't do it. And then the agent says to the parent, did you tell him he can't do this? And then the parents, because they're afraid of getting sued, go, oh no, we're sorry. We're sorry. He can take the car. That's what we're doing in college athletics right now. We're allowing these kids. I needed tough love. I'm sure you guys, there were mentors or teachers or coaches that did things to you when you're 18, 19, 20 and told you things that you had to follow that you didn't agree with at the time. But man, you become 30, 35, 40. You're like so grateful that person who was maybe not your favorite person at that time, they changed your life. That, for me, it was my high school coach. He did things that I would have never thought I could accomplish or achieve, and yet it changed my life for the better. We're taking that away from coaches. We're taking that away from players because ultimately they need that to grow and go through those tough times.
Okay, so, you talk about mentors. I got the chance to be around you guys at game day for a year. It was a spectacular year. One thing I learned is time on tape. We always hear time on task. You are a time on tape guy. You spend a lot of time with tape. That's why I'm excited to ask you as a Raiders fan, how pumped should I be for Fernando Mendoza? What have you seen as somebody that covers college and the NFL at this point in your life?
Yeah.
How does Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback, translate to Fernando Mendoza, the NFL quarterback, to you?
I would say he is a guy that if you have pieces in place, you have a running back, which you do, you have tight ends, the offensive line is going to have to obviously improve. You have some receivers, they've got to get better, I think, in that area. That's probably one of their most notable areas. They've got to get better. But he is a guy that can come in, and his ability to process, he's a massive prep guy. He's not a guy like Justin Herbert's like, this guy's skill set is so good, we're going to figure it out, just let him be him. He's not that guy. He has great skills. And you saw him create, you saw him make throws, but he's not just like going to take over because of how talented he is. But if he has the pieces around him, he is going to be a machine because he is just so systematic, and he has the ability to recognize when you go to the NFL, it becomes more complex, hiding coverages, disguising, especially on third down. You're not going to fool him because he is going to be a guy that's going to be incredibly well prepared. Now, it's going to take time to become that guy.
Sure.
But I'm telling you, I went from he's a pretty good player to watching his run, what he did at Eugene, Oregon, what he did at Penn State, what he did obviously in the Big Ten Championship, what he did in the 4-game run to win it all. Dude is different in a good way. And I don't know enough about how you feel about those pieces that I just talked about. The line's got to get better and the receivers got to get better. But they've got pieces, and this kid is unique. Tom, I could see, if Tom ends up going that way, you could see why. Because when Tom came out, we obviously go back to the 6th-round pick and the combine and all that. Tom wasn't just like, wow, we got to have that guy. But Tom's mind beat you for 20 years. And that's why he's going to end up falling in love with this kid. And I think it's a good fit. I think it'll be fun to watch and cool to see how they develop around him.
And hard not to fall in love with him. Just listening to him. He's the sweetest. He's the cutie patootie of the year. I gave him the award.
That's a good one.
As we look ahead to the 2026 season, who, whether it's a person, a coach, or an institution, is under the most pressure?
In college?
In college.
Everybody got fired last year, you know. I mean, I think Georgia isn't under the most pressure, but Georgia was holding on to they're the new Alabama. Mm-hmm. And the game has changed from when 20 and 21, when they had all these 5-stars, and if one went down, throw in the next 5-star.
Right.
They don't have the depth. They have not quite been able to adjust to the new way of doing things. Without that depth, I don't think the pressure's on them, but for me, Georgia's still kind of the bar. And so I'm anxious to see what their answers are, because I love Kirby. I love what he does and how he does it. Does it like Saban, but still in his own way. So I think all these new coaches are under a lot of pressure because people want to win now. Mm-hmm. But I'm anxious to see how Georgia kind of gets back to trying to be Georgia. And the other thing I would say is I think the Big Ten, not just with the 3 straight national championships, but I think in the bowl games, you turn on a bowl game and there's another Big Ten team beating an SEC team. And really that's all we have to go by. So this isn't SEC bias, Big Ten bias. This is just, you always go by results. The SEC had the upper hand for years in these matchups. And now for 3 years, the Big Ten has had the upper hand. So I think the Big Ten has kind of become the leader in the clubhouse right now as a conference. So I think the SEC, they've got to collectively, they got to figure out this new way of surviving, because right now I think they've gotten passed by the Big Ten.
Peter's hanging out with us. He's walking around.
Yeah.
You're joining us with Spruce, pet-friendly, weed deadly. What do you love about him?
Well, I'm big on, I have 4 dogs. I just lost Ben, who was with me last year, too early of an age. So I'm very big on what I feed my dogs. Mm-hmm. And I'm always curious, what caused the cancer for these dogs at such a young age? And I always wonder, is it what these guys are spraying on my lawn? Is it what, in this case, weed control that you might put in a mulch bed or on your sidewalk where the weeds come up? This is a pet-friendly product, and that caught my attention. Only 10 ingredients in the product. And so for me, I was very, very excited to be able to team up with somebody and try to create some attention for a product that's pet-friendly. So that's why I'm here. That's why Peter's here with his bandana on, and he's had a fun day today traveling around. And here you go. They want him to come out here. Here, babe. Come here.
Hi.
Come here, buddy.
Hi, sweet
look at that.
baby.
He travels everywhere with me, so he's like my companion.
He has more airline miles than I think anybody that I know.
He does. He does.
Man, it's beautiful to see the love that you have for your fur babies, and it's beautiful to see the love that you have for the sports. Man, we appreciate what you bring to our lives on Saturdays and Thursdays.
Yeah,
man. Thanks
it's been
for
a
hanging out with
blast.
us.
It's been a blast.
Thanks so much.
Great
Really
to see
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah.